following segment is sponsored by Daniel A. White and Associates. It does not necessarily reflect the views of WDEL or Forever Media. Rick Jensen on 1150 AM, 1017 FM, WDEL.
I've been a client of Dan White and Associates, financial planners specializing in retirement income for years, and I'm happy. Not everybody who's saving and investing for retirement right now these days is saying they're happy. Andrew Wood is one of the pros working with Dan White and Associates. He's in the Middletown office because they're in Middletown, and they're just over the state line in PA as well. And Andrew's here to talk about the Great Resignation, which we talked about here, but also the Rule of 55. Andrew, thanks for being on. What the heck is the Rule of 55?
Thanks for having me, Rick. Well, the Rule of 55 is really going to apply to anyone who is working for an employer who has a qualified plan who may separate from service or leave their job in the year that which they turn 55 or later. And it allows them to take distributions from that qualified plan, like a 401k, for example, without that early 10% penalty. So I'll kind of just take a step back. If you think about what's going on with the labor market, I'm just looking at some of the recent statistics from the Department of Labor, but for the January numbers looks like 4.3 million people quit their jobs.
Oh, yeah.
Back in January. so people are quitting jobs, and there were 11.3 million job openings. So people are leaving their jobs and they're quitting a lot of times to find other employment. So that doesn't necessarily mean everyone's leaving the workforce, but I will tell you that I do see, even within my clients, clients that were looking to work for, a few more years are suddenly saying, you know what, I think we're going to call the quits early. But
no, you're absolutely spot on. In fact, I was talking about this with Patrick Harker, who's president of the Federal Reserve Bank in Philadelphia, and we were talking about unemployment, perhaps recession, things like that. And I said, one of the numbers that I think we should be really concerned about is the Bureau of Labor Statistics non-participation rate. I mean, these are people of working age who've decided they're not participating in the workforce. Maybe they're looking, pretending to be living, maybe they're living at home with their parents or whatever. But dude, Andrew, 37% of Americans working age have decided, yeah, I'm not participating in the economy. I'm not going to work. I get a job. So what you're saying is likely accurate. And I think it's even worse if you take a look at what the Bureau of Labor Statistics, nonpartisan office, is saying about non-participation.
Right. Now, in terms of this Great Resignation, I will tell you that a lot of people are quitting, but they are just finding other employment because there are so many opportunities and openings right now. So, I think especially for those people that are maybe looking to take a breather, you should know that if you're over the age of 59 and a half, you can pull money out of your IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, and there's no early 10% penalty. Yes, you have to pay taxes on the distributions, but there's no penalty. So anyone over the age of 59 and a half, this isn't going to apply. But if you're one of those individuals that, decides, I'm 55 or 56 years old, maybe you want to take a breather, take a few months off, or maybe it is a full-time thing. You got to understand that it might actually make sense to leave some of the money into the 401k or that qualified plan that you have with your employer, because you do have access to that money when you separate.
Yeah.
As long as it's in the 401k, you can take distributions. Yes, you have to pay taxes. There is no early 10% penalty. But the moment that you decide to move that money into an IRA, a traditional IRA, for example, the same rule does not apply to your IRA. So you do have to wait until 59 and a half to avoid that early 10% penalty when you take distributions from your IRA account. So you got to make sure you're planning for this. Again, if you're looking to take a breather, maybe it's a few years, make sure you have some money in your 401k that you can rely on so you can avoid that 10% penalty. That would be really designed for near-term income versus, if you move money to your IRA, that's going to be longer term after the time that you reach 59 and a half.
It's always scared me, this idea that you take a loan out or just take money out of your 401k, because for the vast majority of us, that is our retirement income. And it's earning interest, hopefully, unless like right now, market's bottoming out, going up and down, and maybe you haven't lost a whole lot. But overall, in the long run, in long term, Andrew, you know that if you take money out and you don't put it back in, you have less capital to work with to earn more money for your retirement, right?
That's correct. Again, that's where really proper planning comes in. You know, when you're generating income from the account, the game changes. You know, most people, you know, if you look at long-term trends, yeah, the market goes up, but if you're drawing income, that typically means for most people you're selling shares, and you know that volatility can certainly help you. Or, I'm sorry, can certainly hurt you. So again, you got to make sure you're coming up with an income plan or an income strategy, and that should apply for both near and long-term as well.
Well, I would say, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong, but I would say if you're in your 30s or 40s right now, put more in because you're buying low, and you got quite a few years to make up for that.
That's the idea, absolutely.
I would think so. I would hope so. What we don't know is whether or not we're going to really see a recession either later this year or next year. So, rule of 55. One more time.
Sure. So again, that's going to apply to anyone who leaves their job, all right, and has money, for example, in a 401k with their old employer. They leave their job after they reach the age of 55. Okay? You can take money if you leave that job, take distributions from the account. Yes, you have to pay taxes, but there is no early 10% penalty. But the moment that you move the money to an IRA, the money in the IRA, you shouldn't touch until 59.5 because there is that early 10% penalty. So again, if you want to look for some near-term income prior to 59.5, make sure you're developing a plan and a strategy to make sure that you can avoid that early 10% penalty if you can.
Yeah, and for those of you listening, before you do that, I highly recommend you make a phone call right to Andrew Wood or someone like him over at Dan White & Associates at 888-690-8820, 888-690-8820. Sunday mornings, you and Dan Simon, Dan White, you guys have On the Money at 7 a.m. on Sundays. So cup of coffee and a little breakfast there. What's on the Sunday?
You can always check out our podcast as well, so just keep that in mind.
Oh yeah, is that the website? At the website?
Yeah, we do have it. All of our stuff is recorded on the website. So for anyone that is not, necessarily up and listening to the radio early on a Sunday morning, we do have everything that is going to be recorded. They are posted on our website.
So type it once and save it in your browser because they put a lot of letters in it. DanWhiteAndAssociates.com and then
sure do.
And save it there. So what's on this Sunday?
That is a good question.
I've got it here. Here. Why the federal? I'm sorry, I got it right here. My bad. Why the Federal Reserve is between a rock and a hard place. Yeah, the Federal Reserve is between a rock and a hard place when it comes to interest rates. Again, Patrick Harker said that not only are the Federal Reserves, there's 12 of them in the country, recommending increases in the interest rate. He said, don't be surprised if you hear some of the Federal Reserve branches saying we need to raise interest rates by 0.5% or even a full point each time they raise rates. And that could be 3 times to 6 times within this 1 year. And I guess the hard place is that if they don't do it, then it'll be even worse inflation down the road?
Yeah, they're stuck. Obviously inflation is the major item of concern for most people today. And, that's really, I believe, what the Federal Reserve has, they feel is in their toolbox is to raise interest rates. So, obviously they always talk about being data dependent, but I don't know, exactly how much that truly is the case at this point, just because, again, it's a major concern. We're at numbers that we haven't seen in for 40 years.
Yeah, we'll see how it affects you. Sunday morning, 7 o'clock, the conversation. Yeah, man, because we're seeing, for example, this incredible, painful spike in housing prices, for example. It's not letting up. And I talked with people who are CPAs, tax professionals, who have also been in the real estate business for like 20, 30 years. Last year, they said, well, we've never seen this before, but we feel pretty confident that prices will fall back maybe at the end of the summer of 2022. And I was asking, fall back to what, 2019, 2016? They said, well, 2019 prices when they're already starting to go up a little bit. But Now, I don't think that they're saying the same thing at all. We're not seeing the supply just wide open, and we're not seeing prices go down. So if you consider this, Andrew, these prices of these houses, I mean, if you want to buy a house that's $300,000, $400,000, I was told by a couple of realtors that you better come to the table with an extra $30,000 and waive the inspection. Both of the things, I think, those are just crazy. But if you can afford to, don't do that unless you're younger than 30 years old. Okay, maybe 35. Because I can't see how anyone's going to be anything but underwater for the next few years if and when we have a recession. We always have recessionary periods. And then the prices come down again. So you add that, Andrew, with potentially 5 or 6% interest rate at the end of either this or next year. What's that going to mean to people, Andrew?
No, I mean, it's huge in terms of affordability and making sure, you're able to afford the payment. It's not necessarily the price, in my opinion. I think, payment being, the affordability of payment is just as important. I'm not in the housing market right now myself. I'm happy with where I am, but I will tell you, I do have contacts with realtors and things like that. And I think that what we're seeing, obviously, it's a huge amount of demand, right, and the limited supply, which is, kind of helping keep those prices up. So, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen long term with that, but obviously that's another concern. What are interest rates going to do with the affordability of those payments?
And that affects how much we can spend on groceries and everything else. Yeah. It's all about life, man. And that's the world in which you work. Andrew Wood with Dan White and Associates. You can give him a call at 888-690-8820 or just Google Dan White and Associates. And you can hear all these programs they do too right there on the webpage. Thanks, Andrew. Be well.
You too. Thanks, Rick.